The significance of this workshop is we're able to bring together all major stakeholders in youth and employment issues. So the aim was to discuss and come up with the tangible solutions or give proposals and give recommendations to the policymakers to implement. It came out clearly that the government of Rwanda has done a lot in responding to youth issues in the country. They have good policies in place, but there's still a gap. We need to find out what is missing.
The challenges are many. We have so many graduates who have pursued universities, but the jobs are not there. The challenge number 2 also is our education system, which is not adjusted to the market needs. Teachers and lecturers just teach students on mathematics, economics and whatever, but they don't give them these soft skills, they don't give them this awareness of how they can create their own job. The challenge number 3, even those graduates, even though they are jobless, but most of them, they like white-collar jobs. I'd recommend our government to try to adjust our education system so that it responds to the market needs, but also to tell youth to be ready for any kind of job.
The scoping paper we worked on was to look at what the current state of literature says about the youth employment challenge in Rwanda. So one is to understand the definition of youth employment in Rwanda, and 2 is to look at challenges from labor and from labor supply and labor demand side of the employment equation. What our paper found was that one is we really have to contextualize what we mean by youth employment. So when we look at employment statistics, it shows that it's relatively low, 4.1% if we look at the last data, 2% across the country if you look at the EICV4. But what I think one part of the equation that's missing is examining more the question of underemployment. And if you look at underemployment, 2/3 of potentially employable youth are underemployed, meaning they're working less than 35 hours per week. And so what our paper focused on was looking at what sort of research has been done around this issue. And we found that while there has been a lot of research done on labor demand side and labor supply side, there's still some gaps in terms of the knowledge about the youth employment challenge in Rwanda. Some examples of the gaps in research relate to doing very rigorous impact evaluations of some of the technical training programs, such as vocational training programs. There's a question of underemployment to see how we can collect more relevant and recent data on underemployment. What are the challenges that people who do have part-time jobs but still work less than 35 hours, what are the challenges that they face? Another area where there's a gap is on informality. So a large population are employed, primarily self-employed, but work in the informal sector. And so again, understanding the dynamics around informality. And lastly, I'd say one of the other knowledge gaps is around gender. So while there's gender parity in terms of educational enrollment, when it comes to employment, we found that urban women are much more likely to be unemployed and underemployed compared to urban men. This is the issue in terms of gender employment.
So the main challenge is that we have good graduates on paper, but for instance, when they come up for interviews or we have a difficulty of linking the qualifications on paper and the person that we are seeing. So there is mainly a lack of soft skills and these skills that people need in order to perform their tasks well. So as El Puente, for instance, we are offering these employability skills that allow fresh graduates to transition into the labor market smoothly. Yeah. I think everybody has a part to play in this. The government, the academia, the private sector should all come together in order to tackle this problem. So the earlier it is tackled, the better.
We have been intervening in so many areas to ensure that our youth are employed. But the policy element that I found missing a bit is that kind of organization at district level, at sector level, at province level. We have, in most cases, trained the youth, facilitated them to be organized in the cooperatives. We provide them with some of the materials and equipments to use as they work on their productive areas. But in most cases, you find them they lack that kind of organization, and within a short period of time, they actually disappear. You don't even find them where they are supposed to be. We provide materials, they steal them. And you think it is an issue of policy element that the districts and the province level should establish some policies, ensure that these youth are organized in cooperatives and are motivated to work within their area of birth, where they reside, other than traveling to urban centers.
The core mission of our institution as a training institution is to make sure that we impart to the youth the employability skills. In order to achieve that, we bring on board enough people that I wanted to say about the access. It's about also the quality training as well as the relevant curriculum that you have to follow. So to do that, even the curriculum we are using, we have to develop it together with the private sector. Now we can say that really we are happy of the progress. Last year, the institution in charge of regulating the TVET system in Rwanda has conducted the satisfaction survey, and the finding is that around 75% of the employer are satisfied with our graduates, which is really a good sign. We need to raise awareness so that the TVET is not considered as the second choice. The other thing that needs an improvement is also the involvement of the private sector. So we cannot say that the TVET will improve without the improvement of the private sector.
To empower youth, we empower them in two ways. We empower them in skills, as Ken called it, soft empowerment, and then with now tangible stuff like toolkits. So when it comes to soft empowerment, we help our youth to have skills in different aspects. It can be for technical, vocational, financial literacy, all of that. So after this, there's other ways that assist them starting their own business, because what we want, we need our youth to be job creators. So to be job creators, you know, most of the time it requires the skills and capital. So when it comes to capital, there is a way. We work with different partners. You heard about BDF and other different ministries, UN agencies. So to help these youth to start their own businesses. So we provide toolkits with some loans in banks. So we still have some challenges, but they took this step of creating their own business. And that's the result of this initiative.
We have 4 strong pillars, and each of them is complementary to each other. Because we start from the skills development pillar to business and entrepreneurship development. Then we go for labor market interventions, and then the coordination. And we realize that we need to position the youth to be employable, because we realize that the majority of the youth don't have employability skills. So the strategy of starting with skills development, especially technical vocational training, that has been mainstreamed, where particularly for vocational, we are training people massively using the unconventional approach, not only restricting ourselves to the existing technical vocational schools, but try to make use of other facilities that are readily available, but equipping the youth with the skills and competencies that are required on the labor market. I think that can work. We've seen from the statistical information of the recently released ESFA4, which was released last week, that job creation has increased by 25% in the last 3 years for the youth, which is quite a good trajectory. We've not reached the target of the 200,000 jobs as intended, but at least we are on a good trajectory. Now, the biggest challenge today is unemployment, especially for the graduates. Unemployment for the graduates is quite a challenge, because some of the young men and women went for courses which have limited employment opportunities. And you realize some of those areas are fully saturated. Of course, perhaps they didn't get sufficient career guidance, but we can't leave it at that. So from the government perspective, we are now thinking of reconversion programs, of saying, yes, you did sociology, you did clinical psychology, you did economics, you are unemployed, but there is another way we can transform you into a professional in something else, especially through technical vocational training. If there are some job opportunities in different other areas, we have established a qualification framework in government under technical vocational education, which can easily transform that person. You get a short-term program or mid-term program, which changes you from being, for example, someone who did sociology into a builder, a plumber, or something else. So with so doing, with that kind of a strategy, we believe that some of those people have been frustrated and have been on the labor market for 2, 3, 4 years, if they get such a skill, would easily position themselves to get jobs in those other new areas which still have very high potential of employment. We believe that partnering with researchers and academicians is a very, very critical component in the struggle of tackling the issue of unemployment.